These changes feel like a pivotal turning point in the ecosystem. I have been dying to know what your thoughts are here.
Where do we begin?
Hi, everyone. It's Christian, and welcome back to the Unsafe Harbor podcast. In this episode, we'll talk to the one and only Dana Nairn. Dana is a principal advisor on Cognitive's implementation services team. She's been in the ecosystem for almost 11 years. Now, let's be real. You have probably already heard of Dana or have seen one of her posts on LinkedIn. I mean, she is the hashtag Workday woman after all. This was a really fun conversation. We cover a lot of ground, and we talk about things like the recent changes to the Workday Pro Certification process, the public GMS tenants going away, and what it's like to work at a Workday partner versus a Workday customer, and much, much more. So with all of that said, here is my conversation with Dana. Thank you so much for taking the time to make this happen. I am thrilled to be able to talk to you again.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I know that you've essentially gone into this story like a million times in a million different places. But for those who may not know you, which I'm not sure how that's possible, can you briefly take us through how you first got into the Workday ecosystem?
Sure.
What was that experience like? What's your journey been since then? And then what are you up to now?
Sure. I'll keep it succinct because at least I have shared this and you can find it actually in a different podcast. I'd be happy to share that later with you. I come from an HR background. I went to school, got my HR diploma, decided I wanted to do that. And then I'm from a small town, so I found that there was only so many opportunities. Ended up in the city I'm in now. Have been for the last 15 years. Just more opportunity here, right? Was in the HR department, worked with payroll and benefits actually, and moved into more of a technical role supporting time tracking in an older system. And then they went and decided to implement Workday. That's the story of many people that start client side, right? The company that they work for says, oh, we're going to Workday. And then I was just already there as an in-house expert on the current setup of the key areas of that HCM system. So it was just natural that I got to be part of it. Again, the same story a lot of people have. Yeah, it was part of the project. A new team was born out of that. And I was an HRIS administrator, analyst, whatever you want to call it. Moved my way up a bit, but I changed companies and then just continued on that. So yeah, I decided at some point there's got to be more that I could learn. That was the key. Client side is obviously one way of learning and using Workday, but then you are just supporting the business you work for.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody that's always looking for something else.
Yeah.
Like, there's gotta be more. Yeah, right? And I'm like, well, I'm youngish enough to still plan ahead. So, hey, let's go and try this consulting thing. And it's been a whole, it was similar at first, but there's a lot of differences in there. And I mean, obviously the biggest one is that you support so many different people. It's not just that same customer all the time. You can still build relationships depending on how long-term you are helping those people, those customers. It's the same kind of work, but it's like another level. Right?
Yeah.
It's another level of different people to talk to, different things you get to see because there's so many different tenants that you're in. And and then, from consulting, I was able to actually try out project management and then get into advisory. Once you know something, then you can tell somebody else. That's what advisory is. It's just advising, telling them the best things to do. So that's really the journey. It's always been HR focused with some technical in there because I'm a computer nerd and I come from the 80s. A definite, geriatric millennial who liked computers as a kid, right? That's the story.
That is quite the way to describe yourself. I love that.
I know a lot of us. There's a lot of me out there. Yeah, just 80s babies that were nerds, and you find your way. So I still really like HR, but Workday is a supplement to that now.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a great way to describe that. I love that. I find it really interesting that you're very, very intentional about your career. And it's also really fascinating that you've had the experience at a customer and at a Workday partner, right? Like a consultant in a consultant role. So I definitely want to pick your brain about that a little bit later on in the conversation.
Sure.
But we obviously had a back and forth prior to this call, and you expressed that you had very specific thoughts around certifications in the ecosystem and kind of that state now, right? So I have been dying to know what your thoughts are here.
It's a big can of worms, Christian.
Yeah, Dana.
But I did bring it up. Yeah.
What are your honest thoughts around getting certified in the ecosystem now?
Where do we begin? I'd like to begin back maybe a little while ago.
Okay.
Because there was a time, and I mean, okay, to be really clear, so I've been in the ecosystem, like actually seeing a Workday tenant, even if it's just implementation phase. For now, I'm in my 11th year. Okay?
Wow,
2014 was my initial. So when I go back and I look at what was pro at that time, it was something that you got, you looked to achieve, to get to, only if you wanted to specialize and become an expert in your field in that area. So let's just use Workday Absence because I, dabbled there. Okay. Yeah. If I wanted to become a pro in Workday Absence, then the certification would be the way to do that. And then I would be recognized as a pro in that way. And it was somewhat exclusive because it was expensive. Not that it isn't now, but it wasn't just that everybody could go get it. And it was more of a unique experience. I wasn't interested at that time then. And that hasn't changed, because the feeling now, if we jump ahead to where we're at, is we all have seen that there's been a push for, I don't know if it's a push for, I can rephrase that, maybe that more and more organizations are more easily able to achieve partner status.
Yes.
But with that, Workday has also defined that a partner must hold a minimum number of certifications. That's my basic understanding.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So look, somebody listening to this would be like, Dana, there's more to it. Oh, 100%. But my point in this is it's becoming less of that niche thing that you could aspire to get and more of a requirement. And that's where I have opinions. Because the requirement to get a certification, it does make sense to an extent. I'm going to relate it to a certification or a designation I hold personally, which is a payroll compliance professional. It's a Canadian payroll designation for fun. It's what I did before I got into tech. Okay. That in itself in Canada is something that, yes, many, many thousands have, but it is actually worth it, because without that information that is learned over a course of, it could be a few years, in fact, without that, in fact, you would, excuse my cat, you would quite possibly be processing things incorrectly, like just purely incorrectly. And when I say that, I mean, it's so in depth, the amount of information you have to uptake to get this designation, time, money, references, work experience. Also, may I add, Christian, to get my designation, there's work experience required. So then go back to Workday certs. Well, I think it's a week-long course, and then a test, and it's a multiple choice. And then you get a little checkbox, and then you're certified. You don't need to have any experience. You don't have to have gone through an implementation or a client's phase X on a brand new module. And I don't see how that is of value. So in all honesty, and okay, we should have said this to start with, but all opinions are mine, right? My own opinions, right? I do not have a certification, and I'm going to maintain that for absolutely as long as possible, because I just have such a head for, it doesn't mean anything. I just have such a hard time with a certification when I know that in the end, if I don't have one too, it doesn't make me less than. Actually, I still have more than that person does, because I've been doing all of these things for all this length of time and they haven't. So I don't look. I mean, it obviously makes money. Workday makes money off of this.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like what am I
Oh yeah.
supposed to say?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it, Christian?
Oh my
Where are
goodness.
you
I
at
am
in
I am
this?
absolutely 100% in agreement with you. I have been in the ecosystem for since 2022, early 2022.
Right.
And I jumped in and decided to dabble in getting a cert. So I got the easiest one there, which is reporting. And so ended up getting reporting and kept up with it. And it just is what it is. It was just like a nice little check mark on my resume, it was great. But now that I am being adopted into going from legacy to the current certification process, where I now have to recertify every single 2 years
Yes.
and pay to take that test,
Right.
I am 1000% going to let my certification lapse for that very reason. I think it just does not, it's not a value add anymore, in my opinion, right? It's just
At
not a value
least
add anymore.
in the position you're in, right?
Correct.
You work for a client, what
Yes.
I would call a client, right? A
Yep.
traditional, you're in an HRIS or IT role,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Right. So I get it because it isn't a necessity for you. Now,
Yes.
if you were to go to a partner, like they would probably pay for your research, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But aside from that, just because they need it. So that again, it still comes back
Interesting.
around to that
Yeah.
you still need it. And I'm just, thus far, I've had the support to not have to go that route.
Okay.
There are enough other people
Yeah.
that are certified around me, and I don't actually configure in implementations. I'm in advisory.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, I'm positioning myself as well. When I have this experience and I like doing these things and I don't like certs.
Yeah.
And I think that they're a waste of mine and everybody else's time, that I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because that's how I feel.
It's working. It's obviously working, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I do change what I do frequently enough, but I'm always seeking the next accomplishment, maybe you could say.
Yeah.
Always trying to find and learn something new to see, well, where else does that take me now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you ever read one of those books where you would read and it would get to like a point where you'd have to pick like A or B, path A or B, and you have to go to the page. What do they
Yeah.
choose your own adventure?
Yes.
Kind of like my life is a choose your own adventure, and like everybody's is, but like mine more like with Workday. Do I want to project manage? Do I
Yeah.
want to advise? Like literally. And the certification thing could actually be in one of my adventures. I'd be like, oh, do I really want to implement? I
Yes.
don't.
Yes.
But then, I need that. Okay, well then I have to make that decision. I have to go ahead.
Yeah.
But these, again, my strong opinions always will go back to the people out there, because they're out there and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my cert and blah blah blah, that's fine. And a job description may have on there, or our posting might say cert desired.
Yeah.
My pushback is doesn't mean that it's gonna put you above somebody else without one,
Exactly.
because experience should still speak for itself.
Yeah.
I've been able to maintain it to this day. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The certification is really just icing on the cake of experience, right? Like the
Sure.
cake is experience and being able to do what it is that you say you do, right?
but
and
it
being able to
isn't
do
that
well.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am in 100% agreement with you. And I think for that reason, like personally, I will not advocate to get a certification. And I'm definitely going to let my cert lapse.
Just lapse. And you're gonna have to pay for it yourself otherwise. So yeah.
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
mean, honestly, my company would probably pay for it,
Maybe.
but I don't want them to. I would much rather have them spend money on me in a different way, because I just don't find the value anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, even your client side and I'm consultant side, it doesn't. There are spaces for both to be not certified. Of course, I'm always curious what other people think, so we'll have to see after this one is released.
Yeah. I would actually not be surprised if a lot of people are feeling the same way.
Perhaps, yeah.
Speaking of potentially feeling the same way,
Yeah.
so you've been part of the ecosystem for 11 years now, right? And so you've gotten to see a lot of these type of like big decisions come and go, right?
Yeah, I've seen a few.
I am wondering, because I've only been in the ecosystem for just shy of 3 years now.
Yeah.
I think with some of the decisions related to GMS tenant going away, now this research process, there's one more that was like really, really ideation hub, brainstorms going away. These changes feel like a turning point, like a pivotal turning point in the ecosystem. Is that in my head, or what are your thoughts there?
I'm somebody that makes decisions, within my emotions and my gut, and when I feel something is weird, it probably is.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling that, I wouldn't disagree. I haven't, very purposely, I haven't put too much stock in any of them yet because I don't exactly know the impact that they have on me. Ideation Hub, I mean, was the last one you said. We all have out there old brainstorms. I mean, I'm on my 4th Workday account in that in community. Once in a while I'll stumble upon my own answers. And I don't know what it's going to look like. The immediate, as you I'm sure have seen, we're wondering, well, how do we support others with their brainstorms, and how do we even get things done? I did have a rebuttal for one person on it. I said, I don't know how this is going to impact me later, but the one thought I had was, and if you've spent any time in community, what you may have found was there are multiple questions of basically the same topic. And I can see where after Workday has had that community for so many years that it was a little out of control. So I can appreciate my organizational tendencies come out and are like, oh, this is good. If you're attempting to consolidate and streamline the process for submitting ideas, great. I love it. I just want to make sure that everybody can still collaborate in there. And that's the key, right? It was a collaborative effort. So I don't know yet, Christian, on that regard. I mean, just AI coming out was a big thing. We don't have to go into that more. What was the other one you said?
So Ideation Hub, the research process, and then GMS tenants going away.
Well, GMS tenant, I mean, everybody still can. I don't disagree. The customers are being hurt most with that one because customers have to pay to keep one. Partners actually have access to a shared setup.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
I hate to even say that here, but it is what it is. It's the truth. So
I know. I hate you a little bit now.
I mean, also I'm helping like a client, with their thing. Like it's there. Like I can look at it because I'm already working on it. So there are changes that have impacted people. Things like that with the tenant. I think they're making money now, I guess, on something they didn't before. I don't like that as a general rule.
Yeah, you touched on something there that is like probably one of my biggest observations is Workday can absolutely have its reasons and communicate those reasons as to why they're making these changes. But I think at the end of the day, whether they acknowledge this or even are aware of this, they're not accounting for the collaboration piece of these decisions. So for Ideation Hub, like the fact that it's closed off to organizations, like that kind of kills an aspect of what Brainstorms was.
Well, I don't think it's closed off entirely, right? Like this is where I'm going to be ignorant to it because like it's still there, but you don't just get to create a brainstorm every second that you want to.
Right.
Like, there's more of a process around it now, right? I can't even, honestly, I am a little ignorant to it if I have to spend more time in it, but no matter. It's changed and people are, I mean, they're busy in their year-end stuff truly right now, right? It's mid-Feb. That's what's happening. But outside of that, it was a thing before and it's going to come back. People are going to talk again about it.
No, for sure. So I think the general like hypothesis that I'm watching, because again, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen in the ecosystem. But my general hypothesis is the collaboration is going to continue to happen. The ecosystem is just kind of built that way. We're used to collaborating with one another. But I have a feeling that it will come outside of Workday mediums. And it
has.
Yeah.
But it already has. Right?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's on Reddit.
Yeah.
Although that is going to be a place for what you see, like a lot of consultants, the consultant side, more than client side. And that's just my hunch based on the questions and the discussions. But you'll also see on Facebook. I'm a member of a payroll group on Facebook, partially because I have a payroll group for Canadian payroll on Facebook. And so I saw this one and I can join this. I don't actually answer questions in there because I don't do payroll every day in Workday. Yeah. But it's good to keep up on things. So Facebook, though, is another medium that I've seen being used for things like collaboration, where it used to be about, sharing your updates. Yeah, no, it's more about group collab now.
Yeah.
So where you said that, I think people are just going to find new ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. That won't stop. But
No.
it feels like Workday is now kind of strategically putting themselves out of that business.
It's strange.
And it is fascinating, right? I'm really curious to see what that all ends
I
up
think
turning
I think
into.
we'll experience more in like 2 to 3 years, maybe after it's settled and things are going, whatever those things are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I really want to kind of pick your brain about your experiences. So I mentioned that you have had a chance to work at an actual Workday customer, and you've also had an experience working as a consultant for a Workday partner, right? So I'm really, really curious to know kind of the biggest differences between the two environments, in your opinion. Yeah. And I think even too, initially, like what was the pull for being at the customer versus the pull of being at the consulting position with the Workday partner?
Well, I mentioned in my little intro too that I decided that I wanted to learn more. So what it felt like for me was the best way to do that was go just leave a client and go to be a consultant. I already knew of the employer that I looked into, so it wasn't exactly that far of a stretch for me. It was actually very easy to change. And it was during the pandemic. We basically shut down all the major projects at the time because we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So that's what pulled me to answer that first. But the major differences actually are pretty easy to explain.
Okay.
Consultancy is about billing customers. It's pretty cut and dry. Like there's no reason for me to sugarcoat this. The key is that I am working for other people and my employer wants my day filled up with that because that's money in the bank, right? Truly, that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest difference is actually needing to make sure that you're staying busy.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a bit of a luxury sometimes on the other side, on your side, the side I've been on, where you can be busy or not. And it's not really the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because your performance, your pay, your anything isn't based on how many hours you put in. Let's just say it generally. Okay. Of course, I come from HR. I know you got to still work because if you're not working, that's a whole other issue. But okay. But you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a project. An example would be, I remember this is way back when I was still learning how to do reports and calc fields, but I remember building a custom benefit census report at the first of 2 employers that I worked at with Workday. And it took me so many hours. Like so many hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that was just me working for my employer and I was just doing my job and you don't think twice about it. Now, if I was doing that in my job today and it took me the same amount of hours, that'd probably be an issue because I'm actually not like my company is charging somebody else for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If Christian at his company comes and says, I need this help with this report, great. And I bill you for it. Yeah. Like that's just it's not a secret. That's just what the methodology is. Yeah. The consultancy is you pay them to do it instead because you don't have it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest change is that, and especially, if you have a hard time with actually submitting hours for things like that, which many of us do, at least at the start, that's the biggest hurdle to overcome is actually the work that you're doing is billable.
Yeah. So it sounds like there was an expectation once you made this jump that you were going to learn much more, right?
Oh yeah.
was that expectation met? Was that realistic? Is it just learning still, like across the board, or does it look different?
No, so I knew there was a lot more to learn because I knew what Workday was capable of doing.
Yeah.
So when I left, I was like, oh yeah, I got to go and learn more. And they're like, oh, Dana, you're going to be perfectly fine. Like, you probably know more than you do. I'm like, y'all have no idea. But thank you for thinking that I am the smartest Workday person that you know. Literally. I'm like, thank you. Humble pie is coming at me. I know it. So, and then, it took no time at all in the Slack channels, seeing questions being asked and answered. And I'm like, I am learning something new every minute here. Like, that it just is what it is, because there's so many more ways to do things in the Workday ecosystem than at your one employer that you're working at. You're doing it one way. Like, there's other people doing it different ways because of different provinces, states, countries, whatever that they work in, different industries, right? So, the expectation I knew was going to be that I would learn, and I wasn't wrong. I still am learning. I mean, just today I was helping a client that I'm doing some staff augmentation work for, just kind of helping them get through a period where they lack the knowledge and need some high touch work, and that's great. But I was helping them with the duplicate management framework.
Oh,
recruiting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, hold on. It's been like a hot minute. And I'm looking and I'm like, I'm missing something. I messaged somebody else. And then she asked me a question. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I it blew over my head. This, like, I forgot. I relearned it though. Okay, it's working. Here you go. You can test it. Like, so am I learning? Yeah, all the time. That's the one thing is that I found I was stagnant. At my customer role. I was teaching everybody else how to do their jobs because they were new and I knew what I was doing. And then once that ended, I was like, now what?
That is really interesting. Really interesting. I do think that is probably one of the biggest benefits of working at like a Workday partner is that you can tap the shoulder of your colleague, right? Who happens to be an expert in their module as well, right? And that's not to say that, you can't really have that experience at a customer. Right. These are just broad generalizations. But I would imagine that is like extremely helpful, is that you're getting all of these kind of fascinating use cases and you're having to be creative to figure it out, A little
bit. Yeah.
And it might be a solution that has not been figured out in the way that it's being requested. Right. Which is interesting.
Yeah. It does keep you on your toes there, and it without fail every day, or at least every few days, there's always still something new. Like, it never ends. Yeah.
Have you noticed that there's like a pattern of like maybe personality types or people who will either gravitate towards like working at a customer versus working at a Workday partner?
That's a good question, and I actually don't think so, because I have worked with people that have left client side and gone to consulting and then went back, but the personality, I think, still exists out there. I think that's not it at all. I think I don't even know what drives people one or the other anymore. Like, I thought maybe this question might have been something I could answer 2-3 years ago, but now I'm like, it's a mixed bag. It is more a mixed bag, I think, than ever before. Maybe because more people out there are doing consulting for potential flexibility, right, in their life in general, looking for a challenge, and but their personalities. No, I mean, like, I work with plenty of introverts, plenty of people that I would have worked with on the exact same type of way, but in a client. So no, I think that if anything, the only difference is that, at least for what I'm doing, like, you have to have some skills and experience behind you.
Yes.
And at a client, you're not so worried about that because it's just kind of more like, this is my job and pension and benefits. I hate to say that, but like, maybe it's just my experience where I live. Very much like that. They just like, that's good. I've got a 401k that your version, right? My pension plan is But those people would do fine at a consulting gig if they were interested in progressing their career.
Right.
Like, so I don't think
Yeah.
that it's necessarily a personality. I think it's more of just like what makes you happy.
Yeah. And I'm sure in a lot of ways, like what your level of challenge is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Or what that is going to look like exactly, right?
I would say, if anything, that's it, because consulting gives you more challenges than not.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you
Yeah.
can roll through that, and sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, that might be the one big difference. That is,
Yeah.
it can be difficult. Everybody's personalities
Yeah.
all across the board, different clients all the time. It's hard sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the coolest things about being on the customer end of things is that it is just the building of these long-term relationships, and actually that can be kind of annoying as well, but
You mean like with the other departments?
yeah, just
Yeah.
just partnering with people,
Yeah.
getting to know their history, getting to know how that like impacts the way that they work with you, things of that sort. This sounds terrible, but like even getting to see some of your stuff that you thought was a great idea blow up in your face, like that is very, very humbling. And I mean, I'm getting to learn a ton through that. Though it's not fun. It is not
It's not
fun at all.
fun, right?
Yeah.
But you learn something.
Yeah,
I get it.
absolutely.
I get it. Been there.
Absolutely. This is actually really surreal that we're having this conversation, because as soon as I jumped on LinkedIn, got into the Workday ecosystem, like your posts, your name, like quickly came
I
up on
pop
my
up?
feed. Yeah, so it's kind of wild that we're like even having this conversation right now.
But what people need to know is we have actually chatted before, so this isn't the
Yes.
first time we met, everybody.
Yeah. But even then, it was just like, oh my goodness.
Oh, but like I'm nobody. Like the fact of the matter is I'm just somebody that happens to post things on the
Yeah.
internet for everybody to read. That's the only difference between me and somebody else. I just happen to want to engage with people out there, and that's the difference between me and the people that are working with me that you never heard of.
Yeah.
They have no
yeah.
interest in sharing what they're up to. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just a little more like, well, it's my way of connecting.
Yes. So I want to double click on this because I
Please.
find this really, really interesting. So a lot of people would call this you having an incredible personal brand, right? And I would be one of those people. I would almost say that you're probably one of the better like people from a personal brand perspective in the ecosystem. I feel like a lot of people know who you are, and you are just so easily recognizable. And I'm sure that changes things, right? So I'm wanting to know, like, have things changed for you since you started posting on a regular basis? How have things been like different, or has it been relatively the same?
This is really interesting because like again, I'm just sitting here in my home office in Saskatchewan. I do, yes, appreciate what you're saying about building a brand. That is something that I have been trying to do.
Yeah.
Because when I do that and people can learn who I am or what I do, there's the potential that actually impacts my earning potential.
Yeah,
Let's be
yeah.
really clear about that,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm looking for business.
Yes.
So to that point, there is a tiny bit of a reason for it, but I'm also, I do this kind of thing in other ways, in other on other platforms where I'm very much speaking my mind all the time. It's different because LinkedIn is for business. And so that's where it's like, it's weird because, you post these things and maybe there's some personal and you work with people and like, maybe this is new information for them. So, how has it changed things at work? It hasn't changed at all. Like,
Okay.
I mean, other than the fact that, people know that I post things. Do they care? No. It's like if you have a brother or sister or a father or mother, somebody that is famous,
Yeah.
do you care at all that they're famous? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a fair
No
point.
joke, right? That's
a fair point,
what
yeah.
happens. You see, like, oh, the kids grow up and they're like, that's just my dad. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. So I get kind of the same
Yeah.
at work.
Okay.
And I'm very much, that's great because it shouldn't change anything.
Right,
I'm just
right.
Dana and I'm just working and I don't want it to impact anything. This is my own personal thing that I'm doing on the side
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
However, what I really appreciate about it is exactly what I wanted to get out of it was I finally got to go to Rising for the first time since before the pandemic this last year.
Yeah.
So it was 2019. I went to Orlando and I was like, oh, this is great. And I still work for a customer then too. Keep that in mind. Okay. And so I made some connections and then took forever to get back. And then I got to go and being able to see people that I've now been connecting with. It was actually a win for me. I was just like, hey, it's so nice to meet you finally.
Yeah.
I don't know what they thought. Maybe they thought that was a big deal for them. I'm like, cool. But like, just know I'm just Dana.
Yeah.
I'm just Dana. And I just happen to post what I'm doing on the internet for you to read.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So impacted me. I wish I could say it impacted me more, Christian. Come on now. I'm not rolling in it yet. Okay. Yeah. but I have made lots of friends.
That is it. Yeah. I think, again, kind of going to like the shoulder tapping reference a little bit earlier, right? You have a lot more shoulders to tap on,
Yes.
And I think that is amazing. I think too, that doesn't come for free, right? Like I'm sure a ton of these people have tapped on your shoulder and have picked your brain about stuff. Like I know for a fact, I certainly have, right?
You have. I'll be honest. I think people are afraid to, and I don't mind. If they're afraid to, I can't possibly answer everybody, and I can't possibly meet with everybody. But like, I'll take maybe one a month. That's kind of where I'm at now because it can get a lot. It can get to be a lot. But yeah, the tapping on the shoulder thing has really helped me when now I'm podcasting and I want to have a guest on actually I think it's not going to time right. Our next episode is going to come out before this one.
Okay.
And the one that's coming out, spoiler alert, you have also had on yours. We'll just say that.
Fascinating.
Yeah, we have a client on the next one, and I tapped on their shoulder because of exactly what you said. We've connected through LinkedIn, and hey, you know something, and we want to talk about that thing.
Yes.
So I like doing that. That's something I've always enjoyed is connecting people together, or for myself or for others, because I've met them and I have this now, friendship or just community connection I've made.
Yeah.
If anything, if that's all I get at the end of the day, that's fine. I'm winning.
Exactly. I know for a fact that all of this takes so much time, right? It takes so much thought, so much intentionality, and then so much time to sit down and either type out, record, organize, like what motivates you to do all of that, to take all of that time and invest it in the ecosystem?
Great question. This goes back to my comment where I briefly said that I do things when I feel like, or I like make decisions based on how I feel about it. I'm emotional. That's how everything comes from my heart. So like when I write, I do have to very intentionally be in the right headspace actually, for me to write, because it's not just coming out of like my head. It's really not. It's something that I've come across. It impacted me in a way, and I want to share the insights that I have with other people. Because underneath all of that, and it helps that because I do this right now anyways in an advisory role, is that I'm helping somebody else with something. And I'm imparting knowledge on somebody else or their company. And so for me, just very specifically, the posting on LinkedIn. Like I have to have some inspiration, and then I just write about it, and it's always after hours, always, because I got to shut things off to be able to be inspired. But then sometimes I'm just in the right mood, Christian. Truly, it's just a mood where I feel like, this is right, and I think that somebody else will find this helpful, and so I'll write about it. When we talk about things like podcasting, we do those during the day. We have to collaborate a little bit more and find time, and it's hard. No joke, absolutely hard to do. But the motivation is still the same, and I just want to help people and share my knowledge and share my desire for doing good things in the Workday ecosystem. Right. We have a couple of mottos like collectively contributing to a better Workday.
I love that.
Like that's what it's about. Isn't that the community that was built? So I that's why, right? That not see immediately the result of the effort I put in, as we all, like, you can, it goes for anything, really, unless you're building a table. Oh, the table's done, right? Other than that, you have to put the time in, and then maybe you have to wait, and maybe you'll see later how that actually resulted in some positive impact for you. And that's with this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I'm just slowly building up a community of people. And the more over time, the more people I talk to, the more I hear the same thing that you have said, is that, like, oh, you're someone that I saw right away. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's working.
Yeah.
But like, actually, you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. I just want to help people, Christian. That's really it.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I think that is, you do such a great job of just summarizing, because I think that is just like the motto of the entire ecosystem. Yeah. I think everyone just feels indebted to, like, the shoulders that we're all kind of standing on, right? And in that debt, we're trying to serve, each other and kind of the people coming up behind us. So I can absolutely resonate with that. I can. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no selfishness involved in this, right? Like, I want to have these conversations. I want to pick these people's brains, and kind of learn from their journeys, learn from their mistakes, learn from their wins. But I love getting to be able to have a platform to share all of that as well. Yeah. So that the person who might be, hesitant to reach out, right, or may not know exactly what to say, doesn't have to, right? Like, I know that we're kind of in the midst of R1 season, right? At the time of this recording, we're just a couple days outside of R1 being in preview. That might influence this answer, but I'm really curious to know, what is one thing that's happening within the ecosystem that you're really excited about or looking forward to?
Oh, goodness. I wish that I could say that I knew all the things that were going on, because I'll tell you, when in the role that I've had, actually, this is because I went from post-prod support, which kept me up to speed on things, but I went into project management, which all of a sudden I didn't remember anything. And then in advisory, I'm still not involved with the same. So right now, actually, I'm really lacking on my things that are out there up to date and what's going on. That said, I'll just say that what I appreciate is that Workday does continue to make strides in areas to bring them up to, like, a consistent UI view. So very specifically, what I mean about that is, I was just in a tenant yesterday or whatever, and I was looking at a time entry template, and I was like, oh my gosh, it updated. It's got the new view now, which is interesting, because it is still today, because the release hasn't been released yet. It's just right in preview, that if I was to go into a prod tenant, that template is not that way, but other areas of time tracking are. So there's an inconsistency that they're just trying to do, like, one thing at a time. I'm like, okay, cool. Keep working on it. So if anything, that is just, okay, we're going to make changes, and we're going to just keep bringing the changes along.
Yep.
I have more to say about the things that they should do that they're not doing, but that's a whole nother episode, my friend.
Listen, I might hold you to this. That might be a really interesting episode. I know that we're at time. I want to be super respectful of your time. So final question before we leave people today. What's the best place that people can connect with you without blowing up your inbox?
Honestly, just LinkedIn. I'm just going to say LinkedIn. Just go find Dana Nairn, Workday Woman, and send me a connect. Follow me, do something. Help me with my numbers. Honestly.
You heard her. Make it happen.
No shame. Go like and follow, please. Engage with my posts. Listen to my podcasts.
Absolutely.
And I'm just a regular person, so an inbox message is appreciated if it's purposeful. And feedback, welcome, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And take it from someone who has kind of been there and done that. You are absolutely looking to help for, someone who's looking for the help, right?
Yes.
So, Dana, I really appreciate you. I am, again, kind of surreal that we're having this conversation, but I am looking forward to, like, what you're going to continue to do in the ecosystem. And more importantly, probably looking forward to your thoughts and opinions on how this whole thing turns out. So time will tell.
We'll talk again, and we'll see where we're at the next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this conversation. Be sure to check out the helpful links and resources mentioned in the conversation in the podcast show notes below. Also, be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter to stay in the loop about future podcast episodes and Workday tips. I'm Christian Delcid on LinkedIn and at cdelcid21 on Twitter/X. I would love to hear any feedback about how to make this podcast better, so be sure to subscribe, connect with me, comment, and share with others. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. The Unsafe Harbor podcast is my personal passion project, and it is completely separate from my role with my current employer or the Workday organization. The ideas expressed on this podcast are my own and do not represent my employer or the Workday organization.